Sound on now? Ah, I killed it. I ruined the beginning. Is there any sound now? I think I didn't have the button on. All right, so we got sound now. All right. All right. Well, then time for us to do this thing right here. If I can find it. Where is it? Got to do this. So now I know where to cut that video where the silent part was before that, right? Hope everybody's all right. Sorry about the sound. It's a do-over. Everything's good now. Welcome. It's a casual Friday. We're hanging out at the rolling table. Good to see you guys. Tell me where you are. Hey, thanks, Devon, for that support and patronage today. Appreciate it. Hello, Russ. Hello, Brett and Dan. Nobody's saying where they are. Hello, Dan. Good to see you guys. All right. So earlier, this is a little bit of cigar trivia. I rolled this one as a freehand roll. This is called a figurado. You can't see it real well in this lighting, but you've probably seen a torpedo before, which is it gets narrow, pointy down here in the mouth part, and then it gets wider and wider, and it's real wide down here. If you remember the old cartoons from the 40s and the 30s, one of the most popular shapes was called a figurado, which was narrow on the mouth part and narrow on the lip part, and they get wider in the middle. And these are generally rolled using a mold. The tobacco is put into a mold. If I free rolled this figurado, you really just, the lighting is not allowing to really see maybe right there you can see it. So anyways, I'm going to be rolling some cigars. You guys let me know what you want to talk about, anything you want to talk about. There's lots. Minnesota's burning, lots of stuff going on out there. You guys keep it along the lines of the Bunker Nation. We don't want to get too political in here, but whatever you guys want to talk about for the most part. I don't know if War Dog Jaime is here yet, but that's Bill. And Bill sent me some binder, some Nicaraguan binder. Have you ever heard from a supporter that he loved you according to the word? Oh, yeah. And I appreciate it. I tell you guys every night when I sign off that I love you. So I love you according to the word, too. Hello, Colleen. Hit the volume button. It's on now, right? Everybody can hear me, right? Colleen's coming in 5 minutes later and telling me the volume's still off. Is the volume on right now, or is she like 5 minutes late? I think that was 5 minutes ago, Colleen. The volume should be on right now. All right. So I'm going to talk my way through this. It is hot, but it's not hot. It is nice. It's warm in here. You're not talking to me. It is warm in here. This is the Nicaraguan binder that Bill War Dog Jaime sent me a pound of. It's really nice tobacco. So it's in the 80s. It's very humid since we've had 3 inches of rain the last 5 days, so it's pretty humid for us. So it's a little warm, and there's no breeze in here. I meant to bring my fan down. Yeah, I look a little different from 2000. I look a little different from December. You've seen pictures of me in December. I do look a little different. All right. So this is my binder, right? And this is a Nicaraguan leaf. And oh, you were answering the viewer question. Okay. See, I just thought you were talking to me. I was like, I just fixed it like 5 minutes ago. All right. Sometimes I'll be talking and sometimes I won't, because this is actually an art, and ancient art. And sometimes it takes a little bit of concentration. But I'm good with talking with y'all. Okay, then what I have here is I'm going to forget. This is a aged Brazilian Cubra Seco filler. So this is Brazilian filler tobacco. So it's all tobacco, but there's three different kinds of tobacco or qualities of tobacco. There's binder leaf, filler leaf, and then later on I'll be using the wrapper leaf. So what I'm doing is an old style Cuban intubado method, and this is how they were made back in the day when Cubans were the best cigars in the world. Back before the factories kind of, a lot of people still do it, but before the factories kind of took over. Am I missing comments? Are we still on here? Is this thing on? If you guys have any comments or anything you want to talk about, we can talk about other stuff. We don't have to talk about cigars. I've been doing this for, I have no idea how many years. Probably 13, 14, maybe. What determines makes a nice tobacco? Everything from the soil that it's grown in to the way that it's grown, all the way up to the thing that actually determines the most about a tobacco is the skill of the person who cures it. Curing is what makes the tobacco. But there are so many steps between the seed and the finished product. Spurgeon loved cigars, and he said, to those hypocrites who condemned him for it, he said, I intend to go home this very evening and smoke a cigar to the glory of God. Okay, so now we're just wrapping it carefully, and there's a lot of skill involved in how to keep it from binding. You're binding it, but you don't want it binding and making it where the air won't pass through it. A lot of people think a cigar is just a bunch of tobacco, like a cigarette is just ground up tobacco jammed in there, but it's so ground up and it's so light the air passes right through it. Well, if you took a handful of leaves and jammed them in your radiator, not your radiator to your exhaust pipe, the air wouldn't come out unless it blew the whole thing out. You have to make it to where it has to be rolled in such a way that the air will pass through it so that the cigar will burn correctly and draw correctly. So what we have here is called a bunch. This is a bunch. Now from here, there are two ways that you make a cigar. One, what did I do with that? My laptop is where my waste tobacco goes. So now I got to figure out what I did with my, there it is. I could free roll, which in a minute I'll do a completely wholly free rolled cigar. But since I already have a couple in the mold, I'm going to make some to go into the mold. The mold is how the factories do it, and that's how you end up with this perfectly beautiful, smooth. I mean, some of mine are hard to tell whether it was in the mold or not. But so what we have here is, some people call it a bullet, some people call it just a bunch, but it's basically the insides of a cigar without the wrapper. So I'm going to set that there for now. I'll wait till I get 3 before I move them into the mold. And I'm here for you guys. If you guys want to talk, I'm reading the comments. As far as the motivation for losing weight, it has to come absolutely and completely from you as far as you are concerned. I mean, it can come from the Lord and all that, but you have to make the decision. No one can make it for you. No one can guilt you into it, but it took a lot for me over the years to finally get to the point where I was, you know, motivated enough to, and I had health problems. I had health problems that could have been serious. I was definitely, and I believe it to be true at 53 years of age, when you're technically morbidly obese, not uh, not healthy. I was not healthy. We'll just put it that way. And you have to start thinking that, and thoughts of death had never even entered my mind, but you do think about your health, and you think about how you want to live, however much time, 5 minutes or however many years you have left. I was definitely on a slow roll downhill, and it happens to all of us. But I'm glad that I was motivated enough to do it, because it's only been, the serious part of this has only been 5 months. I started seriously walking, and walking is the trick. Walking is the thing. It's the center. Walking and what you eat are the mainest things, as they say in Alabama. And you just have to, you got to get up and move. And that's the beginning of it. Once you start feeling better because you're getting up and moving, the rest of it kind of falls into place. Hey, everybody, come on in here. Smash the like button. I got to do one of these things. I got my little mouse here. Gently depress the like button. Also, subscribe. All right, so we're going to go back to the binder here. I'll get rid of the banner because it's blocking what I'm doing. But I'm here for you guys. Whatever you want to talk about, if you have a comment. Everybody's kind of quiet tonight. It'll get more interesting. We're going to be doing rapping, and we're going to do not the kind of rapping that well, I mean, maybe I'll do some rapping. I can spit some rhymes. I can flow if I have to. All right, so we got number 2 down. As far as the bundle, the bunch. One more, then we'll go to the rapping. Can we talk about those who don't have the confidence to move off grid? We can talk about it. I don't really know anything to say. I don't know that confidence really has a lot to do with it. This one's a really thin binder. That should make a good cigar. This one I could actually use as a wrapper. I don't think confidence is generally what's holding most people back. They may attribute it to confidence, but confidence is a result. It's not a thing in itself. It's the result of a thing. You are confident because of something else, because you are apt, because you are skilled, because you are deceived. There's some other thing that's caused you to be confident. Lack of confidence is a lack of something else. And in most cases, it's either a lack of something else or it is the presence of something else. And in most cases, that presence is affluence, relatively, and a love of the world. which is a lack of faith. And that's, I'm not attacking people out there and saying whatever you think I'm saying. All I'm saying is that when people say, if someone says they don't have the confidence to move off grid, they're indicating in their presupposition that they want to, but that somehow there's a lack. Well, what we know about the will and what we know about motivation, human motivation, is that if you desire something more than another thing, and that something is attainable, that you will move towards that thing that you want. You're not going to move away from comfort and security and the love of the world, frankly, unless there's something else that you love more. People are not going to resist tyranny when they love their chains and they love their comforts. You would have to love something else more than your chains and your comforts. So if you love freedom, or you love God, or you love something else more than your chains and your comforts, then you'll move towards independence, and you'll move towards something else. Hey, Lunkenville, I'm still kind of behind on shipping some to some friends, but private message me on Facebook or here on YouTube. You can do it on Facebook, is actually preferable. I'm easy to find on Facebook, facebook.com/off-grid. Everybody who's on here that's a regular YouTuber should be following me on Facebook. And I also have the Bunker Nation page, the group. But if you send me a PM, I can kind of give you the lowdown on my schedule and what's going on. All right. So we got number 3 here. And what the hands are doing is the hands are practiced at determining the mass, how much of it is needed for the size cigar we're making. There's a lot to this, and it looks really, really easy. The reason I always say that in every video is because people go get it and they just jump into it because it looks so easy, and then they email me and they're like, "You made it look so easy. I haven't made one that's smokable yet." People do this for their whole lives to get good at it. So I encourage you, if you want to do it, but don't be presumptuous and then think that you're just going to order some tobacco and the first day you're going to start rolling out Cuban puros, you know. All right. So here we go. I've got these 3 bundles. I'm going to put them into the mold and take the one. This is like the lasagna thing for Martha Stewart. Oh, I had this lasagna that I already had in the oven. That was a horrible Martha Stewart impersonation. If y'all have any questions, comments, topics, things you want to talk about, it is a little warm right now, especially in these lights, but it cools off right about now outside. I got the door open right here. All right. So I'm going to move these up, pull one out that I'm going to put a wrapper on right now. And what I do is about every 25 minutes, I will turn these about 90 degrees and then reclamp them back down, if that's a proper terminology. Reclamp them. The big factories and the rollers there, they have these floor presses, and I'm going to get one eventually. And they have these molds that fit into each other. They're beautiful. And so they'll do 6 or 8 full molds. And I may get a little athletic here with you guys because when you put thick ones in here, sometimes you got to get a little creative to get the butterfly nut here on her. I'm trying to do this, and it looks really light because I have this light, but I'm basically in the dark. This is actually how it is when I'm here by myself, so don't think I'm just being awkward on the screen. Once you get it going, the rest of it comes easy. I don't know what you mean by right to the second agenda. I think they're getting back into the whole conspiracy thing, and that's really, really not the topic of this Bunker Nation. I don't mind talking about it every once in a while, but I definitely don't want to do it every night. I don't know if it's more of an agenda. I certainly making use of a crisis is what people do, and I understand they ship people into these things and all of that kind of stuff. I don't think the average person out there looting Target is working for George Soros. I think people are opportunists and they're like, hey, we can go get some free stuff. Anyways, I don't want to get into talking about conspiracies every night. Just I spend too much of my life on that stuff. It's just a dead end road. Too much positive stuff we could talk about. You're doing like Bob Ross. You make a happy little cigar. Hey, Alan. Howdy. Alan's in Missouri. You guys haven't everybody typed in where you are. Type in where you are. I may have run off all the religious. I don't like tobacco. Oh, by the way, I brought myself a stout that I made during the 30-day challenge. And as soon as I get this first one wrapped, I'm gonna pour myself a little stout. So it'll be a homemade cigar with a homemade beer. All right, so now I'm gonna wrap this. So this is where the art comes in. Hello, Miami. Miami's here, Missouri's here. This is my wrapper tobacco, and this is way more expensive than the other tobacco you've seen heretofore. We'll see how this is a small wrapper leaf. We'll see how it does. You got to be able to wrap left and right-handed because you have two sides of a leaf and you only use half for a cigar. Javi, you're in Miami. There's a lot of cigar rolling in Miami. Tampa, too. All right. I don't know if this leaf is going to be big enough. I'm going to try it. It's pretty small. Boy, not getting much conversation tonight. So this is where you got to be really careful, and this is where the art part of it comes in. I think we're going to make it work, but barely. If I was not making this for myself, if I was making this for somebody else, I would not use this leaf because I can't do a triple cap with this little bit of a leaf. But since I'm making them for me, to be a real disciple uh, of the apostles of the past, how can I prove to them that I'm a child of God? The only proof we ever have that we are a child of God is according to John, the love of the brethren. That love is not words, and it's not emotion, it's not temporary, it's not fleeting. It is a word of service. And basically, if you boil it down, it means I'm going to serve your best interests no matter what it costs you and no matter what it costs me. And that can be anything from telling someone the truth to a gentle um, support in times of grief and trouble, to smile when they smile and to cry when they cry. But as far as being a disciple, as far as like um, Timothy or something like that, you're just going to have to talk to Paul about it. He wrote plenty. For the most part, I think it's a love of service and not service to the entity. But anyways, let's talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. I used to roll cigarettes, but switched to American Spirit. Yeah, I have a cigarette rolling stuff. I do that mainly if I want to barter. All right. So it's not beautiful. Like I said, that leaf, you can see I got a big vein right here. If my leaf was longer, I could take that vein out. But this leaf was very, very small. So it's going to smoke perfectly. And so that's number one. That'll go in the humidor. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to pour myself a stout. And we could talk about, I hope this doesn't go all over the place. It tried to. This is a beer I've made like day 2 or 3 of the 30-day survival challenge, off-grid challenge. It is fantastic. Roll, baby, roll. That's right. Ethan Suplee, yes. He lost 260 or something like that. He had a lot more to lose than I did. Very inspiring. Very inspiring. I only lost 101 pounds, but if I lost 260 pounds, I would have weighed 17 pounds when it was over. He was 500 and something pounds, I think. Salud. Oh, that's fantastic. Right out of the root cellar. Now, the religiousite, not knowing the scriptures, inflamed with self-righteousness, cannot believe that a man of God would sit here rolling cigars and drinking a beer. Said they don't know the scriptures. Immoderation is a product of the Industrial Revolution. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, you had very little immoderation. There was some. There were people who had the ability to tarry long at the wine or to drink too much strong drink, but it was rare enough that it takes up so little of the scriptures that you can mention all of it in just a few minutes. For most people, and I can talk about tobacco or I can talk about beer or wine. By the time, living the life that I live as an agrarian person, by the time you've brought grapes from the beginning of the plant all the way to fruition and you've actually made a harvest, You've actually fermented, and you have been with those grapes for years, for years. And by the time, just like with tobacco, if I was, and I grew my own tobacco in 2015, and I still have some of the tobacco, and I've made cigars and I've smoked it. By the time you get to the point of smoking that cigar, you have handled that tobacco from the time that was a seed that's as small as a mustard seed, and you've babied it into life. You've watered it, you've picked bugs off of it, you've uh, taken care of the plant until you harvested it. That's just the beginning. That's 10%. The curing process is highly, highly laborious. In a factory cigar that comes from Cuba, that tobacco has been handled by 500 people before it ever ends up in the box. That's how intensive the process is. So a person doing that alone, raising their own tobacco, rolling their own cigars, is not going to be immoderate. It wasn't until the Industrial Revolution where people, because they were involved with the dollar economy, were able to earn far more money pecking dots for somebody else, and then take that money while the cigar making business was industrialized. Cost of everything came down. That somebody, when you see 5-cent cigars in the old westerns, that was because of the Industrial Revolution. By the time of the Old West, the Industrial Revolution had already been here for 60, 70 years or more. If you're watching movies in the 30s and the 40s and you see the old farmer tripping on back to the woodshed to get a nip of the uh, beer, wine, bourbon, whatever, that was already after the Industrial Revolution had brought the cost of materials and everything down, and also the prohibition had driven the business so that most people weren't able to buy anything locally. And so the cost had become so low, and the person using the product had become so separated from its manufacturer that it became easy to be something to be immoderate and to abuse. You can abuse candy. And by the way, it's usually obese, gluttonous person that is contacting you saying, "I cannot believe a man of God drinking one beer." You know, it's it's ridiculous, and it's ahistoric. Anybody who that whole doctrine is so ahistoric. I did a whole show on this with once on a broadcast. I don't recall if Usher pegged a time frame between disembarkation of the Ark and Noah's drunkenness, but it would have to have been at least a couple of seasons. Oh yes, most likely it would have been several years, 5 to 10 years, probably at the very least, to plant a vineyard and dress it and get to the point where you actually um, uh, have a product that you can make wine from. A lot of years. It takes a lot of years to get to that point. Most people will buy a grape plant, and then maybe 3 to 5 years they'll start getting grapes, but at the very least. My point is that we'll always have drunkenness with us, just like we'll always have obesity and gluttony. I've never been, that I can remember, ever accosted. I got accosted in Walmart for buying beer by a preacher, this shaved, slick back, charismatic preacher. And in the discussion, he proved numerous times that he had no, and I was bringing up scriptures he didn't even know were in the Bible. And I've been accosted by gluttonous, obese people who somehow don't think that part's in the Bible. So here we go. What is the next spiritual warfare? Shall I fight them off with the words or actions? I would learn the main spiritual warfare takes part in here, man. youthful exuberance. Desires for that warfare to spill out into the street, because then personal responsibility is abdicated. The great most people need to start on themselves. The spiritual warfare, dying to self, the service of putting down the inner man, carrying that dead man, all of that kind of stuff. Ecanastasis, the outworking of the resurrection, is an inward act working outward. Anyways, Devin, we can talk privately if you want to send me emails or whatever. I don't want to take the whole show and just you and I talk. So, anybody else has anything else they want to talk about? I'm here. I am a Renaissance man, so we can talk about cigars. I was talking about tobacco and in moderation and all of that. Hello, Nathan from Pennsylvania. I'm just taking a little break and then I'm gonna roll a couple more. Well, we got a lot of people here. We want to include everybody. Dan Brandon, fantastic artwork on the cover for the Cambodian book we are working on, right? In fact, I'm going to be working on that tonight and tomorrow, finishing up the edits, getting it over to the formatter, who was also finishing up the cover. Thank you for that. The artwork is fantastic and so apropos to the day. Moderation. That's the key word. Boy, it's warm. They don't have a cigar icon. Well, someone needs to make one. All right, here we go. So I'm going to pull out another one to wrap. This one, I'll do a triple cap. And if you guys need some fantastic artwork, contact Dan Brandon. Highly recommend. I'm starting to really feel like a Cuban cigar roller because it is humid. For Central Texas, we have some humidity going on. All right, so the ones I just put in here, I'm going to rotate those about 90 degrees. Hello, Danielle. I love you. How are you doing? Glad to see you here. My wife, Danielle, ladies and gentlemen, has joined the party. It is humid here and warm. We've had 3 inches of rain in the last 5 days. All right, come on now. This is always the fun part. You're worn out. I'm worn out too. I didn't work out today because today was a day off, but I did do a lot of stuff today, including 2/3 of the dishes. Took Sarah to Barnes and Noble is still around, huh? What'd y'all get at Barnes and Noble? Lots of walking. Yeah, I did a lot of walking today. Probably not enough. I probably got to do some more before it's over. Hey, everybody, smash the like button. And also this thing right here, subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, I appreciate you. If you would go over to YouTube after this thing is over, subscribe and hit the like button. If you are a YouTube user and you're not that familiar with my Facebook, that's where I do most of my interaction. You could go over to Facebook. You can find me at facebook.com/off grid. But we also have a Bunker Nation group there. That is the main group for the Bunker Nation. She got a couple books. All right. She sounds like a bunker. Getting some books. Uh, yeah, only book you need, right? I, for a fact, know that you enjoy some other books. Mr. Pink in particular. But yes, that is the only book you need. I have a lot of books that I don't need, but that I want. Yeah, fiction author too, huh? I still haven't finished the opening bumper music with Trains I Missed by Walt Wilkins. It's coming. I just have not had enough power the last couple of days. It's sunny out there now, but I haven't had enough power to do much during the day if I want to have enough power to do a show at night. So hopefully pretty soon I'll get that done. He does write pretty good, if he must say so himself. All right. This time I'm going to put a Cuban triple cap on it. If anybody has any questions, topics, things you want to talk about, I'm here for you. Oh, rascal. Rascal's barking. You heard a noise. I'm a Renaissance man, Danielle. That's what I keep telling people. Ooh, wee. Boy, everybody's pretty quiet. Uh, my cutter here is very dull, and so I've got to do some work on it, sharpening it. It's a pretty low end cutter to start with. Is there a change in society? Oh, there's always a change. Society is always drifting hellward. It's only the influence of the righteous that stops it from plummeting. You're working a business logo, all right. Well, there's not a whole lot to listen to because there's not a whole lot of people commenting. All right. Here you have the lighting is so poor. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. That's going into the humidor. Do one more and that'll be it for tonight. How soon after Hurricane Sandy did you start Wick? We actually started Wick before Hurricane Sandy. We had the concept, and then as it happened, we decided let me put it this way: we had decided kind of what we wanted to talk about, me and Chris Awal, and we knew we wanted to write. We knew we wanted to write a book that was mainly a philosophy book, and then when Hurricane Sandy happened, and then he did a whole Facebook thing where he walked through Manhattan like a day or two after the hurricane, and that became the walk at the beginning of the book. So that's how that got started. But we had already pretty much, we were on the same page as far as writing it, and we had already started, planning on doing it. It just gave us an opportunity because he had already written this whole walk through Manhattan. Different methods of food preservation, fermentation particularly. All right. So generally, when it comes to food preservation, you have to know what your climate and your weather, your season is going to be. So depending on the category of food, like wheat, for example, here is planted in the fall. It's harvested in June, July, and which is going to be hot and dry mostly. When I read Wool by Hugh Howey, he recommended Wick by you. Are you friends or associates? We used to be friends. We are not friends by any stretch of the imagination anymore. We used to be quite close, but he took a turn into politics, whereas I was trying to serve the greater good of humanity by just writing good books. And his political turn included him severing ties with people with whom he disagrees, including family members and some other quite obnoxious behavior. So I would not say that we are friends anymore. We used to be quite close. Let's just say I've not severed ties with family members or my parents because of politics. No, it's okay. It's okay. I appreciate you having the courage to ask. It's not a painful episode. It's just the way that it is. I have family members and friends, and some of them right here on this chat as we speak, who are of different. I'm not in a political party or in much of a political animal. We may not see eye to eye on everything, but we are gentle folk and try to get along. And don't let that dictate who we love and care for and all of that. And welcome, Katrina. Normally, this is not my normal show. We're having a casual Friday, and I decided to roll some cigars and have a chit chat. To sit here, and I used to do these quite often, live from the rolling table. Going back to talking about food preservation. Anyways, you find out what it's going to be, and then the methods that can be used during a particular season. So if you're going to be doing meat, generally you want to try to butcher during the colder seasons, November through February or March. I just butchered a pig myself during the 30-day survival challenge and did it in the heat. So it can be done, but and then you have to figure out, do you have a place to, can you do canning? Do you have the ability? Do you have the resources? If you can't do canning, you can do drying, dehydrating. Fermentation is always a good solution. It is one of the most natural and healthy of the solutions. For those of us who live like I live, fermented foods are a natural thing and not a big shock. With the modern American diet, a lot of people are not used to eating foods with that taste profile, so it takes a little bit for them to get used to. Well, thank you, Katrina. I appreciate the kind words. So fermentation is an easy and it's a very healthy way. It has to be a part of a mix. In other words, you could survive on fermented foods, clearly. But you probably wouldn't want to. You probably wouldn't be very happy that way. To me, I like to eat sauerkraut and fermented vegetables with a meal as a condiment, really. So dried foods, you really need to be able to do the whole package if you can, but you have to do what you can do. So if you're in a situation where we had some kind of grid down, drying food is going to be really one of the easiest and best ways. Drying vegetables, drying herbs, even drying meats. Smoking and drying meat, fish is one of the most equipment light. In other words, you don't have to have a lot of equipment ways to do it. When I roll in the morning or in the afternoon, I'm fine. When I roll in the evening, oh boy, my back. All right, y'all. We're at 56 minutes, and I try to keep these things under an hour. I appreciate you guys. As always, I appreciate you tuning in. It's always good to talk with all of you and to be able to share some time with you. If you would, hit the like button. We've only had 8 people hit the like button. If you're on YouTube, if not, go to YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe if you would. Always find me on Facebook, facebook.com/offgrid. Then you can find our group, Bunker Nation, there. And I appreciate you guys tuning in, as always. Hopefully, Lord willing, I'll see you either tomorrow or the next day. What about using canned goods at the moment? I know they won't last forever, but they are here and now somewhat. You mean like store-bought canned goods? I'm fine with that. If they're available, the nutrition's not as high in them, but if they're available and they're cheap, they're not as cheap as they used to be, and they're probably going to get more expensive. Certainly no problem with it. But hey, thanks guys. I got to go. It's time. I appreciate it. Lord willing, I'll see you tomorrow or the next day. I love you all, and I'll see you soon.